welcome back to Spirit Lounge. I hope you guys are doing well. Please let me know if this microwave, I will check when this video is finished, but to make sure this microphone, got crazy, is working okay. It seems to be having a loose power connection now. So welcome back. So today we're going to crack on with the continuing with the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, and today we're going to be discussing the second discourse of Great Seth. There isn't a first discourse. This was the paraphrase of Seth, which was the previous chapter. This does indicate there was a first, but it's not documented in the book. So let's put the presentation on the screen there for you. Okay, so the second discourse of Great Seth. This one I actually really enjoyed. I have to say, I didn't quite enjoy the paraphrase of Seth. I thought it was long-winded. It started to get a little bit repetitive. It was just too long, actually. I didn't really enjoy it. I hope you guys did get something more out of it than I did. There was not so much interpretation out of that. So let me just quickly rest this one down. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is a speech or a message from Jesus. So it's supposedly the I is Jesus. So the Christ is speaking in this particular discourse, and he's giving meanings in the crucifixion or baptism. It indicates there was a first discourse, although that's not documented in the book. It does talk about Seth being regarded as a manifestation of Christ. So Seth in the book is actually Christ consciousness. The manifestation of Seth, or the paraphrase of Seth is Christ consciousness manifested in a being. So in other words, Seth is regarded as the manifestation of Christ within a person. So Seth is the manifestation of Christ within Jesus and with any of us all who decide to move it towards the grace aspect of the spectrum and emit Christ consciousness of divine love, beauty and joy, unity and oneness with the true I within, which is the Christ consciousness. Therefore, Jesus was a manifestation of Seth. It's a message delivered by him, and it's about the Saviour that came down as a divine manifestation and is above the Yaldabaoth and the archons, if you recall. Jesus is regarded as in the human body. It's the vessel. It talks about Gnosis of all akin to him. Akin to him is all that. That means those that are emitting the Christ consciousness, effectively. And they realize the wedding of truth, which is the wedding to the self, and then the truth being the uncovering of knowledge. Remember, we talk about the Spirit, the divine book, which is the emitting of knowledge as energy, as light. Light is energy. Energy is knowledge and information. And it's through the oneness, which is the unity. Adonaios is one of the archons. This is it's regarded as the one of the archons who saw light, and he talks about they cannot really execute Christ consciousness through crucifixion, and I'll explain that as we go through. And I actually really enjoyed this chapter. It talks about the Gnostics, Gnostic writings of Basilides suggest that Simon of Cyrene, Simon who carried the cross, was the one who actually was crucified on the cross. There are others who say the same thing. We're not going to go into that, but we'll go into some of the other meanings of crucifixion. And they do talk about the three types of ignorance. There is flesh, soul, and spirit. Remember the other one that we talked about, which was the physical, the psychical, and the spirit. This is very similar to that spectrum that the Gnostics speak of. And it touches on this as well. And this is also the spectrum that I call the drift towards godlessness or the drift towards grace. These are two aspects I speak of quite a lot when I speak to others outside of the videos, and I will be going into in other videos after I've completed the text, I think, because I'm looking forward to finishing that and starting some others. So there's one spectrum as far as I can see, godlessness or grace. And we are to shift towards grace, of course, but there are many aspects of where we are in between those. And one of them, they will either lead towards godlessness, which is abject godlessness, but also attachments to body, lust, mind. They drift us towards the left, whereas expansion release from our attachment to our intellectual egos, to our minds, and the dropping of the lower chakra frequencies and the attachment and the lust towards them moves us towards the right, which is the spirit itself. Okay, so let's go into this. Okay, so perfect majesty, the mother and the savior. Perfect majesty is at rest in ineffable light. Remember, at rest is when you find peace and belonging and oneness and unity within your own Christ consciousness. That is what it means, rest. You become at peace. You become calm and you become harmony with yourself, with the ineffable light, which is the Christ consciousness within, the divine Father light. It's the mother of all things. I, which is the Christ, this is the Christ we're speaking in this chapter. I alone am perfect, which is the Christ consciousness. So this sentence is not talking about the body. It is not talking about Jesus, the person, the being. That is an avatar that we see. It's talking about the consciousness in which Yeshua, Jesus, Isha brought back to humanity to remind themselves of it. So when it says, I am alone and perfect, it is the Christ consciousness within Jesus. It is the Christ manifestation through the being Jesus, which is being discussed here. Attain to me on account of the word. This is asking us to attain that consciousness on account of the word, which is the Logos, the fullness of the Father, and the teachings, in other words. I dwell in the majesty of the Spirit, equally to us, our kin. So this is talking that it's equal in all of us, particularly those, our kin, is those who are emanating the Christ consciousness. Okay, the word and baptism. I have uttered a discourse, a glory of the Father. It's an imperishable thought. It's a matter fit for slavery. We shall die with Christ, with undefiled thought. So what it's talking about, it suggests baptism is a union so when we baptize ourselves, remember we baptize with water. And water is above, as the archons or those demiurge, if we want to go down there, looked up and saw the waters of light and saw images that they tried to reflect below. But also you can look down through the waters of light, of imperishable light, down to the realms below. So baptism is a ritual in which you're baptized with the waters of light. Now, people can take the opposite and say we're being baptized with the waters of the realms beneath. That is your own theological expression and perception. I don't go into those things, but I'm giving you interpretations for you to decide for yourselves. But slavery is also into illusion for me. So when it says matter fit for slavery, so we can either move towards imperishable thought, which is freedom, liberty, free will, sovereignty, or we can move towards on liberty, and also a matter fit for slavery could also be the attachment to self, to the material, which is also a slavery into itself, to the material and to the lower, below the water, the realms of the darkness below, the realms of delusion or an illusion below. And it says, we shall die with Christ with the undefiled thought. This is exactly true, because we will always have the Christ consciousness within us, and we'll always return, and we'll die with the Christ consciousness intact, whether we realize it in life or not. That is the divine flame of the Spirit, which when it leaves our physical vessels or the avatars that we occupy, the avatar then dies, and that is called death. It's an incomprehensible wonder. The scripture regarding the ineffable water is used among us, is the word. I am you, you are in me, Father is in me. So this is effectively saying that you are the Christ consciousness, all of you, which you are. Have to realize it and rediscover it and reconnect with it. You are in me, so that is the Christ, so the Christ is within you. And obviously the Father is the divine light, and everything is within the Father, and everything is in the one, and we are also part of it, and the one is within us. Okay, the call for the salvation of divine thoughts. Let's examine this creation of his. This is the world rulers, the demiurge, or the Yaldabaoth, or the Sakla. Send someone, so this is where the Christ came, the light, the Christ consciousness light. Send someone just as he also examined thoughts, loss of spirit. So this means just as he also examined thoughts in the regions below. So the Christ consciousness was examining, entered the realm below and examined thoughts and saw that there was loss there. To all the members of the whole vast assembly of the majesty, they rejoiced. The entire household of the Father of truth rejoiced. So those that followed Christ, that followed the Christ consciousness, that revealed themselves to it, and that also raises itself to the current time that we are in for all of us. I am them. I reminded them of the thoughts. So these are the thoughts of greater, of the higher realms. Of the thoughts from the undefiled spirit. This is the Divine Father. Descended to the water. So the Christ consciousness descended down into the realms of the water, of the darker water of manifestation. It was a single thought was in all of them from a single source. So this was a single thought is the spirit, which is in all of them, which is everything that exists. It's from a single source, that is the Divine One. I went forth to reveal glory to my kin, my friends in spirit, those prepared by the will of our sister Sophia, wisdom. So this is not just chosen ones. Remember, my kin is actually everything. Although we can also refer it to those that have, in these chapters and verses, the kin is also those who have drifted towards grace and are emitting Christ consciousness. This is also kin. Those who have discovered what they truly are and who they truly are and where they truly belong and have never left, just experiencing physical life in a material realm, in an avatar, which is not themselves, not the true I. It's just a vessel in which we experience. But it's also my kin is everything that exists. Everything that exists has the divine spark and light within it. It just needs to discover it for itself. So everything is kin, actually. It's not just those that have discovered the light. And Sophia is wisdom. It's knowledge, in other words. So prepared by the will of our sister Sophia, which is in infinite knowledge and wisdom, which is within, waiting for us to unravel it, to turn the pages of the divine book within us. She first came to prepare homes for the child of light. She derived collaborators to construct bodily dwellings that those in the world came to live. So this was the creation of physical form, or rather the manifestation of physical form in which our spirit decides to dwell and come into the world. Ready to receive the saving word, assembly of all those who still are in waiting and those already in me. This is what we discussed before, those who are yet to discover and those who already have discovered and reconnected. Everything is, remember, our kin, the true kin of the I. Remember, we are all brothers and sisters in the realm and the sight and in the light of the Divine One. Coming to this world, so this is where the Christ consciousness enters the realm below. I approached a bodily dwelling. So this is incarnation. So when it's saying I approached a bodily dwelling, which means the light, the divine consciousness, which was what we regard as Yeshua, Isha, Jesus, the light within it from the divine realm dropped through all the realms of the cosmos into a bodily dwelling, into the avatar in which it had prepared for itself, and evicted the previous occupant. What does this mean? I love this one. This means previous occupant. That is the material consciousness. So the previous occupant is the material body. So it replaced the attachment to the material body. It replaced the attachment to the intellectual ego mind. It replaced the driver of the lust of the loins, which are the Trinity that I call the illusionary Trinity, which is the intellectual mind as it is today, the attachment with science and technology, and then the ego of our minds, that we feel we know more than we do. We know very little about infinite existence. The attachment to our bodies, we think this is all that we are, and also we're driven by the lust of our loins, our desires, our ambitions, our greed, and those kind of things. It's these are the previous occupants. These are the occupants that exist in the body, and if we allow it, that detachment to occur instantly upon when we become a child and we slowly form into adulthood, we allow that detachment to occur. Then we become attached to those occupants. So when Christ came in, it disregarded and omitted out those established occupants of material that the material vessel tries to impose, or the world around us imposes upon us, and makes us attached to. The material stuff of the rulers, as we've just discussed, those born of earth began to tremble at the sight of the figure. The figure is the light. So remember from previous chapters, the archons, or those rulers at the time that were of dark light, noticed that there was a divine light that came into existence, and then they feared that energy because it was opposed to their inversion. So I'll explain this in a minute. Let's just finish reading this chapter. I am from the heavens. I became an anointed one. This is Christ's consciousness again. Neither did I reveal myself to them in the love coming from me. Rather, I reveal that I am a stranger to the regions below. This is effectively saying that the regions below had lost the Christ connection with their divine I. The divine I within, the self, which is the Christ consciousness, the divine consciousness, that the Tifra, the seventh realm in the Tifra, which goes up above into Kether, which is the divine Godhead. And so this is what this is talking about, is that rather than he revealed himself in his own love, he revealed that his Christ consciousness was missing in those in which he found within the regions below. So we were missing, we are disconnected. The inversion, feared energy of those of it to those of inversion. So let's think about the world like this. And I explained this to a friend, a close person to me the other day. How does evil come to be? Well, there's light. We are all divine light, and it's love, it's grace, it's beauty, it's joy, it's divine light. We exhibit light. We just want brotherly love. We have love, and to our brothers and sisters, we have connection to the divine. We start to see what is hidden. We uncover knowledge. It continues to well up within us because the divine light is reconnecting with us, and so we're divine Christ consciousness. So we have symbols of that in life. This is the cross, the swastika, the Star of David, the many, many symbols of light that various cultures attach to, but that resemble and are symbols of light. But though there are many in the world who have decided that light is not something that they're attached to because of their karmic tendencies. Over many, many incarnations they've built up, and they've decided that they will worship, which is called the inversion. Inversion of light is everything that light is not. So they worship hate, fear, lust, arrogance, destruction, subjugation, abuse of all kinds, all kinds of opposing factors of love and light. And that is an inversion. So if you look at the world today, it's inverted. That's because those that we have given governance power over us, which is our choice, we need to reverse that choice by attaching to our Christ consciousness and understanding what we've done and take the power away from those. But those have inverted the light, and I drive that inverted light through all of existence. So everything that we experience within our human life is cascading down from the top. Is those few that have inverted light are pushing that light down, the darkness down, to subjugate the light that the masses are pushing up. Now we need to drive that light up by changing what we've manifested in physical form by allowing this governance. And their symbols of darkness are inversions of the symbols of light. So, for example, the Luciferians, the satanic, the demonic of those that are of dark have the inverted cross, which is the inversion of light in a circle. This circle is resembling the infinite, the whole. So they put the whole and put the inverted cross within the whole. That is a direct opposition to light. The reverse swastika, which the Nazis used, which is a direct opposition to the tree, to the circle of life, which the swastika was supposed to represent. Star of David, which is twisted and which is turned upside down, I believe, is another inversion. So all the symbols of dark will be an inversion of the symbols of light. So we'll go into those at some point in the future. But this is how you will see and notice when you open your eyes, look around you and look at the symbols that those who you worship in power are truly wearing. And it'll give you some idea of what they are. This is there's inversion here and there's light there. This is in the physical form, the inversion we have given governance to. But in reality, the truth of it is the light is power above the inversion. In spiritual energy, the light is all that exists, and the inversion is tiny and minuscule when we talk about energy and light and the divine force. But in physical form, in the world that we experience, twist that upside down, we've given the small, those of few of darkness, we've given them the power of the physical, our governance, our free will, our choice. We've chosen to give them this. We need to reverse that, to take this small few and take the light out, take the darkness out and let our light emerge and change what governance we have on this world. And I've gone off on a tangent there, but I just wanted to explain that it's very important in today's life because things are changing so rapidly and our free will is going to be challenged. And I'd advise you all to look, not at fear, but look at your light, because that is all powerful. All powerful. Okay. Unrest and the confusion of the world. There was a great disturbance, restlessness in the whole world and in the council of the archons. Remember the archontic, the sixth realms and the seventh realm being the demiurge. Some were convinced when they saw the mighty deeds I accomplished. So the generation of Adonaios, this was one of the archons, apparently saw the Christ consciousness and was, remember, changed and went to Sophia. I descended from the one who fled from the throne to Sophia. The great generation of Adonaios descended from the one who fled from the throne to Sophia. So that was the one, the archon, who fled from the demiurge, which is the throne, and went up to Sophia because they realized that what it was representing was false and that the Christ consciousness was the all, and went to wisdom, in other words, elevated itself. They all were moving about. Others inflict every sort of punishment on me from the others inflicted every sort of punishment on me from the world ruler, which is Yaldabaoth. They were restless in mind and they plotted against me. This means that they were plotting against the Christ energy. Though their majesty was everything, they thought their majesty was everything, They lied about human beings and the majesty. They usurped the name through ignorance. Yaldabaoth disclosed the circuit of angels. So Yaldabaoth created his own realm of angelic frequencies. Humanity was seeking and not know the true human. They did not know the true human. For those offering praise, I died, though not really, that their archangel demiurge might be useless. So what does that mean? Well, in short, it's talking about the Christ consciousness came down into the earth plane, came down into the realm of the human material experience. It caused a disturbance to those who were of dark, who saw the light emerging within others, saw the light of that within Jesus, and shook, because it shook the energy and frequency of the realm. And they then sought to punish that and remove it from society. And as a result, the crucifixion itself, it's saying, those for offering praise I died, but not really. What does this mean? The body died. The vessel of that whom was crucified died, but the Christ consciousness did not. That just returns back, which it's always connected with the golden thread, back to the divine grace, but also spread the Christ consciousness and the teachings of Jesus far and wide. So this means that they may have killed the vessel, but by doing so, they became useless, because the teachings of Christ have spread throughout all of our hearts and inspired us to reconnect with our divine self, to our spirit consciousness, to our divine I consciousness, in whatever form you wish that to be, whatever path you wish to take, is your own choice to move towards grace, remember, and away from godlessness, to move away from darkness to the light. Emit light, remove the darkness and attachments and the material of it. That's what this means. The arrogance of the world ruler, which is the Demiurge, Yaldabaoth, Sakla, the world ruler announced to the angels, I am God, and laughed heartily. How conceited he was. Who is the human being? So he was looking and saying, seeing the Christ consciousness within Adam, and saw the light within Adam. Remember, Adam was blown the breath of light. Seeing Adam and his dwelling place, the dwelling place is the light within, and the breath of Sophia, which is wisdom that Adam was given, the human, in other words, and laughed at its insignificance. They turned away from the heavenly majesty, so they laughed at it, thinking it was nothing, and they turned away from the heavenly majesty. The true human, which is the light within the human. The human form is insignificant. It's the light, the breath of the Father within all of us is the true human. They are inferior, senseless. These are those who have taken delusion and illusion. They are empty of thought, corrupted in the entire majesty. Spirit was at rest in his realms. I was him, a single emanation from the eternal and the noble ones. I placed a small thought in the world. This was planting and reminding us of our Christ consciousness is that small thought. I examined all with flame and fire. All they did through me. Strife around seraphim and the cherubim. This is the order. So effectively what we're saying is that the Christ consciousness came and examined all who were here with flame and fire. So in other words, forcing us to look at the light that we had lost, and then brought strife to the seraphim and cherubim. That is, in other words, a metaphor for the order being the archontic, the demiurge order, which for me is those who have decided to move away from light and worship the darker forces of universal realm. This universe allows everything and anything to be possible. If we wish to move away from our divine light and we wish to create forces and use universal force for negative intention to fulfill our lustful desires of dominance, of hate, of desire, of lust, of greed, of abuse, of prejudice, of all of the forces of that kind, then we can do so, and this is called the order. And they will worship darker forces that they manifest themselves. All the way to the world ruler, let us seize him, others, those of light. It says, others, those of light, this plan will never work. So the plan of the demiurge was to remove light from the realm of the human realm, or rather those who are attached to the darkness was to remove light from us, which is happening in an aggressive way at the moment. With the more we attach to illusionary realms of experience, the more we'll be detached from our spiritual selves, our true I. So remember what we see as metta, what we see as digital twin, what we see as the illusionary digital self of ours that they want us to live through. This is an act to move us away from our divine consciousness. You must not allow that to be a reality in your own individual lives. That plan will not succeed because the divine plan will always succeed. And that is because all spirit within all things, even that which has turned to complete and utter darkness and depravity, will ultimately come to light. And as more and more of us drift more towards grace and remove ourselves from the circle of this realm, this material human realm, the ring not past, which is a snake eating its own tail, within that ring not past will be all that will be left is those who dwell in darkness, for they will eat and devour themselves. Because at the end of all things, those of light will return to light, and those of darkness who refuse will be left in a realm where there is only darkness, and they will consume each other because there is nothing else and no one else, because all light has left, and they will be there devouring each other as a snake in the ring not past devours its own tail. This is the destiny of those who are attached and try to drive that darkness through us. It will not work. So rest assured, the divine light is power. And remember, the divine Father is the all. There's nothing that is created in the all can be more, which is an aspect of the all, a fractal of it, a possibility within the realm of probability of energy, projected energy. How can something that's manifest within the all be greater than and more powerful than the all? It's illogical and it's an oxymoron, is it not? So how can darkness be more powerful than the all when it's an aspect within the all that some decide to manifest? The all is all light and is all powerful, and that's all it can ever be. Just remember that. There is no contest. It is just a contest that we allow because we, in fear, live in light and there is no fear. And be guided by the divine grace, and you'll always be guided down to the path and shown the path in which to follow. Let's continue. The arrogance of the world ruler. World ruler announced to the angels, "I am God," laughed heartily. Okay, we've just actually said this, haven't we? Sorry, I've just carry on. Pardon me. In the mouth of lions. I was in the mouth of lions, this is Christ. They plotted against me. I was not hurt at all, but they punished me. I did not die in actuality. Like we mentioned, I was not hurt at all. The I is always the Christ consciousness, not the physical form of Jesus. Remember that. When we talk about the I, it's always the spiritual consciousness, the divine Christ within us all. The Krishna consciousness, the Buddha consciousness, the Christ consciousness, it is all one. I did not die in actuality, which is the Christ consciousness, only in appearance. Remember, the form, only the form. I freed myself of shame, and I did not become faint-hearted. Suffered only in their eyes and their thought. The death they suffered in their error and blindness. They nailed their man to their death. Thoughts did not perceive me. Their thoughts did not perceive me. They pronounced judgment against themselves. Simon bore the cross. Someone else wore the crown of thorns. I was on high, having fun at all the excesses of the rulers and the fruit of their error. What does this mean? Simon carried the cross, but that who wore the thorns was not the I. That means it was not the Christ consciousness who died wearing the thorns. It was the avatar of Yeshua that died. The body. There was a body that died on the cross, not the Christ consciousness. And what this also is saying, they suffered the error in blindness. Why? Because they triggered the teachings of Christ to be promulgated and propagated through the ages in such force of the Krishna consciousness in Hinduism, the Buddhic frequency in Buddhism, and so on and so forth it goes. The same teaching, the teachings are all the same, of light, of divine one, of the Father, of the pronomen, of the filling ourselves with fullness, of the revelation, of the wedding chamber. All those things are us connecting with ourselves, and at the moment in time, the force of the universe are pushing us to discover that all over again and not become detached ever again, and evolve ourselves away from the material realms in which these dark forces wish to dominate. Coming down past the rulers, I brought all their powers into subjugation. I came down and no one saw me. I kept changing my forms. I was at their gates. So it's Christ passing through the realms down to the physical realms of their gates, the lower realms, hiding Christ's light as it entered into the realm. I was not afraid. I was pure, mingling with them. Those who are mine, those who are mine. I put out the fire. This is the fire of the mind, the body, the lust. By my will, the will of the Father above. Pretty self-explanatory, that. Okay, bringing up the child of the Majesty from the region below. We brought the child of the Majesty to the height, the eons that no one has seen. The wedding of the wedding robe. This is the rejoining and reconnecting. So this is effectively saying, bringing ourselves back up to the Divine Father, whilst in body. This is our purpose, and our challenge is always that which looks at us in the mirror. There is no other challenge. That is the one. Resolving the image in the mirror resolves all other challenges that we may perceive to be existing in physical life. It is the one in the mirror. Resolve that. Take it towards grace, and the path will be laid before you. And I can promise you this is true. I've done this myself, and honestly, the divine will lay the path out for you. You just need to allow it, but you have to resolve that which is in the mirror. You have to confront it. It does not perish. In the new bridal chamber, there are 3 ways to reach undefiled mystery. The soul from on high will not discuss error here. She is liberated and treated nobly in the world. They will pass by every gate without fear and be perfected in the 3rd glory of the Spirit. So this is the material, the soul, the spirit. So the soul is religion, theology, practice, ritual. The spirit is when we really connect to our divine I. The physical is the material part of us. We all sit in certain aspects of this spectrum. Godliness and grace, remember. The material, psychical and spirit, they also talk about the 3. So this is the passing through that, the realm of the cosmos is passing through that spectrum. You don't have to go out into the universe. It's passing through that spectrum within the image in the mirror. Move yourself from this, the left, to the right, which is a passing through the cosmos. The cosmos is just energy towards grace. We are here to do this while we're in form and in the realm of the ignorance, which is the material realm, in the body of confinement, which is the human vessel, with the 5 senses. If we only attach to our 5 senses, we will only experience only that which is physical. We always all know that there's much more beyond this. So it's us to attach, move from physical to soul, if that's where you are, but move to spirit, and that is here. Move through the external temple of religion, move to the internal connection in the wedding chamber of the I within, which is the spirit. That's where us being asked to go. The crucifixion interpreted. The world was not receptive to my visible exaltation. My 3rd immersion, which is the crucifixion, the 3rd immersion was the rising from crucifixion, or the spreading of Christ consciousness through the act of crucifixion. The flame of the seen authorities was extinguished. The rulers, darkness overcame them. The world became impoverished. They bound this one with 4 bronze nails. ripped the temple veil with his own hands. Souls of the dead were resurrected. They walked out in the open. They put on the new person. Come to know the blessed, or the blessed. That's what I am, united with me, one with their thoughts. We made plans for the destruction of the rulers. I think this pretty much explains it, that the world was impoverished. Christ's consciousness was expedited through the ignorant act of trying to kill the vessel. And as such, the plan was destined to fail, and the destruction of the rulers will always fail. Always fail, no matter how many times the cycle repeats, it will always fail. They walked out into the open, so that means those that discovered themselves were proud. They walked out exhibiting the divine force from within them. I love this, that particular part. Excuse me. Opposed and persecuted in the world. We left this world and came down to this world. We were hated and persecuted, but those who are ignorant, material people, and those who claim to be enriched with the name of Christ, this is the religious theologists who practice ritual but do not really connect to it, who are false. They hate whom I have liberated. Rather, they serve two masters. Very important point to note here, and I'll discuss this. In the uprightness of our love, we are innocent, pure, and good. What does it mean, serve two masters? Remember, those who claim to be enriched with the name of Christ. What is that? Serve two masters. Very important thing to note. Look around you. Do not worship anything or anyone in governance or any position of authority or betterment than you of any kind. Look at their actions. Those who pretend to be connecting with divine light, but are truly, really following the darker frequencies, are serving two masters. They pretend to you and I and the world that they are of light. They go to church, they perform rituals, they do ceremony visibly, but behind, and their actions, their words, thoughts, and intentions in the manifested world that we experience are actually of dark. So they serve two masters, but really they serve Yaldabaoth, they serve the demiurge, they serve the Sakla, they serve the dark frequencies, the attachment to the material, the mind, and the body. They want power, greed, abuse, perversion, obsession, all of those things. So look around and be prepared to question everything that and everyone whom you may have worshipped before, because you only have the self and the I to go to. That is the only journey that we're asked to move towards. The opponents are insignificant and ignorant. Rulers do not know that all this is an ineffable unity. Absolutely. I think this is the one I quite liked, so I'll explain this one. They have imitated it. So they've created an illusion within the reality. This is what this is talking about. So that everything is in ineffable unity means even light and dark exist within the one. You determine which one you're going to represent, you're going to emit. They have imitated it. So they try to imitate that is of light by creating from dark an illusionary aspect of it. And that is what the digital world is that's being created, by the way. Proclaim the doctrine of a dead man. Yes. So they proclaim the doctrine of a dead man. Absolutely, because the doctrine that's created is false and illusionary. It is destined to fail because it is dead, because it has no light. They mock freedom. They mock of the perfect assembly. The doctrine they bind themselves to fear and slavery. Absolutely. Improper worship. They worship that which is in darkness. They manifest entities of dark entities that are of no significance. Improper worship, they are of no significance. They hate the one to whom they belong. So they know that the divine light exists, but they hate the light. They've decided to hate the divine. They find it abhorrent to them, so they've decided to create the dark, the realm of the satanic, the realm of the demonic, the realm or the Luciferian belief systems, the male Sabbatean, wherever it might be originating from thousands and thousands of years ago. This is what they've attached to, and as a result, dark entities are formed, and worship to those and sacrifice to those in the most abhorrent ways are executed in their rituals. This is real, by the way. This is not, I don't want to talk about this, but this is the reality of our universe, our world, and of light, of a possibility in the infinite spectrum of the ineffable unity as this describes. Okay, they hate the one to whom they belong. They love the one to whom they do not belong. So they love the darkness and the false god and false god they've manifested and now ritually sacrificed to. And love the material world. Make use of what is theirs and what is not. What does that mean? It means that they are making use of divine force. They understand divine force. They understand the universes and those divine forces that I described so many times. They understand how karma works. They understand tendencies. They understand energy. They understand intention, actions, thoughts, words. They understand universal law. And they are using it. They're using it for ill ends and also using what is not theirs, which is the divine force, which is not theirs to manipulate, but they do because they have free will. This universe will allow whatever we allow. These people mislead folks who through them resemble those who have the truth. One person is subjected, another is controlled by God through threats. So they'll subject those who are drifting towards light and bring them down, dominate them, and others are controlled through the threat that of a God through threats. And remember that if you're being told that the divine one that you worship is a vengeful, angry God that threatens you if you do not worship it, it's the wrong one. There is no vengefulness in the divine eye. This is a false, illusionary divine divinity that they're trying to move you to worship. And this is their demiurge, in which they're giving, the more worship you give its energy to feed something that is dark, and the more energy it's given, the stronger its force exists. Noble people are not controlled. They are one with their will. Noble means those with Christ consciousness, those of Krishna, Buddha, all those of divine who found the true eye. They are inexpressible through the living water. The living water is all that exists. It is form, it is life, it is manifestation. In other words, the divine. Okay, the perfect people who live in harmony and friendship. Be wise among yourselves in words that are fulfilled. Those who are perfect are worthy, united with me, unity of truth. People should have no adversary. Some cause division. They are not friends. Those who live in the harmony, friendship, or brotherly love, this is universal and love. Adam and his descendants were a joke. You can take, so this is, take this how you wish. I just took this out of what the chapter was saying. This may not agree with some of you who are followers of scripture, followers of a particular faith or religion. So this may counter some of your belief systems, but this was a chapter in this particular passage in this book, in this section. Adam was a joke. He was created by the ruler in the seventh realm. So this was the body, the avatar. This was the body before the breath of light was given into it, in the shape of a human, as though he had become stronger than I. So the false energies decided to create form, thinking that it was stronger than the real divine all, because the demiurge thought it was a god. Abraham was a joke, as were Isaac and Jacob. They were called patriarchs in a phony way by the rulers. In other words, they were anointed as patriarchs by the false god. David was a joke. He was put in power by the ruler as though he had become stronger than I and my kin. Solomon was a joke, arrogant through the ruler. The 12 prophets were a joke. They were imitations of true prophets. Moses was a joke, called a faithful servant. testimony about him was wrong, since he never knew me being the Christ consciousness. And none of those before him, from Adam to Moses and John the Baptizer, knew me. They never will. Their souls are enslaved. So what he's suggesting here is that they were actually worshipping a false god. They were anointed by a false god. They were given protection and moved by a false energy or a god. Remember, the word God here does not talk about the divine. It talks about the false energy, the false God energy. Until they come to know the Son of Humanity, which is the Christ energy, I was the one the world did not know. We have not sinned. Okay, the ruler of the world is a joke. The ruler was a joke, for he said, I am God, and no one is greater. I am alone. I alone am the Father and the Lord. I am a jealous God. So this is the false God that we speak of. I bring the sins of the Father upon the children. Now this was a false thing. There are no sins of the Father. There are no sins of Christ. Christ did not die for our sins. So this is not bestowed upon anybody. This was a false prophecy. There's a false belief cascaded down through religions and faith. It is not real. You are not burdened by the sins because of Christ's crucifixion. This is illusion and it is not real. He thought he had become stronger than I and my siblings. He is conceited. Our friendship, oneness, so our friendship is unity with each other, our oneness. We overcome his doctrine, his judgment and false prophecy, absolutely. Christ, the Jesus form and the Christ consciousness within came to remind us of what we had lost in the time and the era in which Christ came, and 2,000 years ago. There were many before him that have come to give messages in different parts of the human world at where it was needed and at a time it was needed, a different message, but all moving towards the unity of the one. And Christ did not die for our sins because that was never the case. He died because the sins, when you might say he died of our sins, he died because of the ignorance of humanity. So that was our sin, was ignorance. Not died to nullify the sins of humanity. No. He died because of the ignorance of humanity. He put to death a light frequency that was lost in the world at the time and in the area in which the frequency, the Christ consciousness came to spread the message from, was brought to an end. The avatar was brought to the end because those around had lost that and sought to remove that energy which they feared out from the realm of the material so that they could continue to govern. Christ did not die for our sins because, we've continued to have them and it's gotten worse since, has it not? So this is a false prophecy. And I am Christ. O you who cannot see, your blindness. They would not listen to an accurate account of him being the Christ conscious Jesus. They practice their lawless justice, murderous, those who are always mindless, always slaves of law, fear. I am Christ, who is within you. I am despised, that you may dismiss what is impermanent. So in other words, he's talking about that the Jesus who took, Christ consciousness took the form of Jesus, Yeshua was despised and obviously put to death so that we would dismiss what is impermanent. What does that mean? Remove this false prophecy, remove the false god, the idol worship, idol worship of what was around at the time, but also around today. What is our idol worship now? Well, it's false god, it's the dark, satanic and demonic. But those who are not satanic and demonic, what do they worship? Well, it's the false idol of their own egoistic minds. It's the false idol of the body attachments. It's the false idol of their lust and everything, all the frequencies and actions that drives. Okay, don't become female lest you give birth to evil. What does that mean? It means female is the birth, is the womb of manifestation. It's the birth of something new, a new life, new form, new energy, new permanence, new veil, of ourselves. So do not become female unless, lest means you prevent the birth of evil. So in other words, become female if you're going to discover the Christ consciousness, because that will prevent the birth of evil. Before the foundation of the world, when the whole multitude of the assembly in the realm of 8, they united in spiritual marriage. Marriage was consummated in these ineffable places by means of a living word through the mediator Jesus, who dwells in all of them. He is life, a father of truth, unity of peace, good, spotless joy. I'll come back to that. Harmony of life, eternal life, rational wisdom, one with mind, which is divine mind. Joyful union, honored faithfully to the one. The word, wisdom. This is the wedding of truth, incorruptible rest, in a spirit of truth, perfect light in unnamed mystery. This will not happen where there is dissension and disruption of peace. This is a union, a feast of love. And this is talking about the Last Supper, in other words. A feast of love is the rejoining of the Christ consciousness within us all, and rejoining of unity with each other. This is actually the feast of love. The Last Supper is the rejoining of. It's a metaphorical. It was an act that looked at bringing everyone to take of divine bread and wine, to come together within the Christ consciousness, which we are asked to do as each individual, rejoin with ourselves, and then come together with each other. This love also is to be found in the regions under heaven, which is here, won through the living word. I want to go back up to here. Before the foundation of the world, when the whole multitude of the assembly in the realm of 8. So, everything that exists within the realm of this universe, within the all, was expressed through the divine breath, through thought itself. The divine all thought and had an intention, and the thought transmuted energy into the expression of creation, destruction, and preservation, the forces of energy, to then manifest as it does, using those divine laws, to what we experience today. Everything above our heads, everything beneath our feet. It was all expressed from love, but in a realm of complete, infinite possibility and probability, driven and manifest. Everything that's manifest is through the free will and intention and thought of all that comes to exist within the realm of this universe and the universes of universes. It was all divine light inspired. It did not have duality and evil in it, but duality and evil and darkness was a possibility within it. And it is form, it is us, when we talk about just humanity alone, within the millennia of our existence, has, through our actions, words, thoughts, and intentions, our free will, have either drifted towards, we came in with grace, everything was grace, but as we've drifted away from that, we've gone towards godlessness. And through that passage, we've transmuted energy into duality. We've created evil and fear. We've created abuse and lust. We've created disharmony and criminality. We've created all the distractions and disruptions and the loss of harmonic flow within the universe that we experience. And other life has done the same. There is life out there that stays within grace and tries and emits light. But this is where those who have moved towards the left of the spectrum now emit and act within dark intentions. So therefore, darkness and light has emerged, which we call duality. This is why it's saying, before the foundation of the world, when the whole multitude of the assembly in the realm of the 8, the 8th realm is a Sophia realm, remember. It's saying here, the foundation of the world was that which was created and created duality within it, from free will and from the divergence of energy into different aspects that moved it away from grace. So that is what this is saying. Everything came from love. All life within that's formed in this universe created a duality. Our challenge is to resolve that duality and move back to grace. And when we do that, we'll bring this universe and everything that exists within the all back to light. We remove ourselves from the incarnational loop into the material spectrum, into avatar life, into this, which is when we do so, as I mentioned before, those who refuse and continue to worship darkness will be left in the ring not past themselves, and they will be devouring each other. This, I promise, is the outcome for them. Okay, let's continue with this. They united in spiritual marriage. Marriage was consummated in these ineffable places by means of a living word through the mediator Jesus who dwells in all of them. I like that passage. There's the other one here. Jesus who dwells in all of them. He is life, Father of truth, unity of peace, God, spotless joy. I put dark entities. What does this mean? We are a beautiful light. Our auric field is pure, beautiful light. But depression, anger, fear, all negative energies, if they persist within our experience, anxiety, psychological problems, mental problems, that move us towards the left instead of the right. These change our frequencies. Hate, fear, and worry and anxiety change. It's continual and powerful, and it continues and persists. Our auric field changes. And spotless joy, what does that mean? It means our light is beautiful. It's full of love and grace, because we don't have the anxieties and fears. When we're on the path and we reconnect and resolve that which is in the mirror, that is where we sit in life. That's where we're steered towards. We're encouraged to go that way. But if we have the opposite, our energy can attract dark frequencies which exist everywhere, and they attach to our auric energy, and they bring spots of darkness. Speak to any spiritual person who can see auric energy and ask them, do they see dark spots in people's frequency? Dark patches. This is dark energy, entity energy coming and attaching to energy which is feeling depressed. The more we persist in this, the more we can attract these energies. And this is what possession is all about. Possession comes to be when the person has become so low in frequency that so much darkness, spots of energy is attached to them that it starts to influence their energetic selves. And as a result, that emits itself through the physical, through ultimately actions, thoughts, words, intentions, and behaviors. That's essentially how it works. And removal of that is to bring the spirit back out, therefore expelling the dark energies that have attached to the being of the one who has persisted in becoming of a low frequency for a very long time. This is just touching it at a high level, but this is how that works. Okay, sorry for taking so long. So I am with those who are friends. I am with those who are always friends to each other. This is those who have divine. United by my knowledge, taken on the likeness of my form, will take on the likeness of my word. This is Christ consciousness again, Krishna consciousness, Buddhic frequencies are all the same. Emerge in light, talk about the one, Father of all, is immutable mind, division, jealousy, fire, yet he is simply one. Absolutely. All in all, a single principle, because all are from a single spirit. This is what I just discussed. Everything is in the all, whether that be jealousy, fire, division, love, beauty, joy. Everything is an expression within the all. It is up to us which we choose to move towards, but it's all within the principle of all in all. It's a single spirit. The Divine Father is the Father of all possibility, the Father of all probability, the Father of the void of darkness, which is basically constituting everything that exists, hasn't exist, will exist. All possibility is in there, and our thoughts create manifestation and experience instantly from the void of the all, which is just infinite presence and love. That is what this is saying. Why did you not know the mystery? O you who cannot see, archons around Yaldabaoth were disobedient because of the thought that came down to him from Sophia, the sister of thought, wisdom. They got together with those who were with them in a conflagration, so this one's they decided to fire of destruction, acted as though they had brought together the noble pleasure of the assembly. In other words, they imitated that which they saw above. Instead, collective ignorance, phony images. They did not understand that light associates with light and darkness with impure associates, and they are all they're all perishable. Okay, this is what I have given you. I am Jesus the Christ. You are perfect and undefiled. I have presented this to you, that you understand that we ordained these things before the foundation of the world. When we appear, we may present the symbols, spiritual union with knowledge. You do not know this because of the cloud of flesh that overshadows you. I am the friend of Sophia, which is wisdom. Remember, wisdom, Sophia is the book of wisdom. Knowledge, divine light is information, which is knowledge. Close to the Father, where the children of truth are. Rest in me, my friends in spirit, my brothers and sisters, forever. And that ends the chapter, and I think it was a great chapter. I hope you got a lot out of that, and I explained a few other things, a little spin-off, which I need to go into deeper, but I will do after the book is finished, I think. I know some of you asked me to do that, but I will. I'll go into the nature and the origin of all things as well. I mentioned that about the void, the darkness. That is actually where the all is. It's actually a dark space. It's a dark all, effectively. It's a realm of complete manifestation and possibility of full grace and love. That is where we truly are. That is where everything truly is. There is no form, there is nothing to see other than pure presence in an ineffable light that cannot be observed by anything physical at all. But we'll go into that another time. Again, please become yourself. Look in the mirror and become what is within. Allow it to emerge from within you. Become the second coming, because in the third coming, fourth coming, however they are described in the future, this is you. This is each of us. The light is the only thing that exists, because everything that dark exists within the light, and it's minuscule and has no power whatsoever. We've just given it that because we've decided to fear it, decided to give it our free will, and decided to give it our the agreement that we allow it to exist, our consent, but we don't. We should not consent. So become that yourself, and remember, practice, become persistent in it. Do not do rituals, religious practice just to be seen, to be doing self-righteous, virtuous things. You must become what it is that we are talking about on these videos, that we talk about in these texts and others in the future. In the videos that I've done at the very beginning of when I started this channel, go back to those and watch those. Become what it is that you wish to be again. Not new, that you always are, to rediscover. This is transformative. You'll move towards that left and the right spectrum, remember. So become. It's not, it's you have to become it. It's not just a practice here and there. Okay, and again, if anybody wishes to get any private advice from me, if any guidance, anything you don't understand, I'm happy to help. Please contact me on this Gmail address or Facebook Messenger directly if you wish to do so. My intention is to bring everyone to guide you through this spectrum, to move you towards this graceful light. There is only one destination, and that is to move everything towards the Divine Father of grace. And that is my purpose and my intention always with everything that I do in life. So I wish to say thank you to you all, and I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be others coming up. I am going to take some time off. I'm going to have a Christmas break from Friday onwards, but I'll try to do some videos between now and the new year. I will be returning from Christmas break on the January the 4th, but I'll try to do some videos between now and then if I can. I'm taking some break to see family and flying out to the UK to see loved ones. So I wish you all a wonderful Christmas if I don't speak to you again, and have a wonderful year. For those who celebrate or don't celebrate, just bring the new year in as it is with the Christian calendar. I know you all have different New Years. Just enjoy yourselves with whoever you love. And I'll speak to you all again, and I want to say thank you. God bless.